Hello, folks, and welcome to another episode of Campaign Update. My name is Feena Bonoan, and I am running for the U.S. Senate out of Florida. And also, I have the one and only Mike Scott.
Hi there. My name is Michael Scott. I am running for Senate in the People's Republic of Maryland. Vote Libertarian, y'all.
Very good.
How you doing, Feena?
Doing all right.
How's your week been? I know you felt kind of bad yesterday, but how's your week been in general?
My week's been pretty good. We had a lot going on, so let's get into it. I'm doing this Liberty on the Road tour, so I'll go ahead and start sharing some of that with you. This weekend, we were out with Nathan Slusher doing door knocking and waving signs. So there's my husband out there waving signs. And we were out with Nathan Slusher. As you can see, he's got a big impact out there on the Space Coast right now. Additionally, we went, I was out in Crestview. So I went up to the Panhandle, visited with my dear friend, Holly, who lives out in Crestview. She's a veteran. And I had an impromptu visit from my old veteran friend, Jonathan, who I served with on the USS Monterey, and I served with Holly on the USS Monterey. But Jonathan was also my roommate out in Hawaii for a while. And it was just really good to see him. You know, we call each other family. I swear, I never look so white except for when I'm standing next to him. All my eyebrows go away. All my eyelashes go away. And I did get these printed out. Now,
those are nice.
Yeah, I wanted these available for the door knocking with Nathan Slusher, but they weren't ready. They didn't get delivered. There was some weather that got in the way. But so this is the front. This is the back. So
I just ordered some new ones with the picture.
Mm-hmm.
I just designed some new ones with the picture. I'm going to order them today or tomorrow. But yeah, they say the picture is worth having on there. And
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Because they want to see who is this? They want to see your face. So kept it really simple. I kind of cheated a little bit up here. I don't say cheated. Okay. So a lot of people, they put like their PAC endorsements or the groups that endorse them or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it just, people don't really, they just see that it's a bunch of badges, right? So I've got like the little check mark of a box. So the vote box, I got the Libertarian, emblem there, and then donate and made in America.
See, I never would have thought of that. I could put the little VFW logo up and the Legion and all that stuff, but I'm affiliated with those I'm a lifetime member. I'm not sure they would actually, because they're fairly nonpartisan.
Yeah, I would ask them.
Yeah, I think I'll ask them first. I've been needing to go to the V for a minute anyway.
Yeah. So that's and I got one more thing this weekend coming up. I've got a pool party coming up. So we are having a pool party this Saturday from 5 to 10 p.m. Even if the weather is crappy, this is Florida, it'll blow over. And usually the evenings, like the nighttime swims, those are always fun. It's less hot. So we're going to play some bingo. I was going to play some cards, but we were looking up on, legality and everything. If we play cards, it's going to be, just for fun. No lifeguard on duty, swim at your own risk. And we're just going to have a lot of fun. So that's what's going on.
It does sound like fun.
Yeah.
It does sound like fun.
So what's going on with you, Mike?
Oh my God. I took the week off from campaigning and I have not felt so good in ages. I went to the Lake Arbor Jazz Festival. And I mean, of course you actually do campaign, but it's more shaking hands, meeting people instead of all the hubbub and hullabaloo. It's really been a nice quiet week for me. And I'm kind of glad it was because I've been laughing the entire week. Joe Biden drops out of the race. Okay. If I were writing this story, what would have happened is Uncle Joe would have won, right? Holocaust Joe would have won. And then he'd have died before he took office. And that's after Trump starts another mini resurrection or insurrection. Resurrection. We need a little resurrection. Trump starts an insurrection. It's a big hullabaloo. I would have written a much better story. I don't know who's writing this season of America, but I think it's getting towards the end.
Okay, we're getting into some conspiracy talk. Here's my
I'm saying it's a whole sitcom or really bad political story, and somebody's got to be writing it. It's crazy. Assassination attempts, dementia patients dropping out, people calling Trump a libertarian. It's hilarious. So, yeah.
RFK has been courting third parties. Mm-hmm. He's been going after the independent votes, and he's a Democrat. He's always been a Democrat. He's basically, from the first moment the libertarians started sniffing around him and he started sniffing around libertarians, he went out to the media and said that he's not going for the Libertarian Party ticket. Mm-hmm. The DNC convention, the Democrats National Convention is coming up still. They still have time. I almost wonder if he was a play from the get-go of the Democrats to go win over some independent voters, because in 2016, they blamed the libertarians. They blamed the Green Party. They blamed the independent voters for Trump winning and Hillary losing.
So get some libertarian stink on him, and then he can pull votes away. Or when Biden gets dropped out, he can just slide in and go, I'm a Democrat. The party left me, but I can bring it back to its glory days.
Right.
I'm a Kennedy. Right. That's a really good story, too. Somebody should have wrote that one.
And it plays right into the patriarchy where they make Kamala Harris vice president again.
I would really find it easier if Chase Oliver would just go ahead and win But I'm sending out his name, and I keep telling people about him, and they've really never heard of him because he's been to all 50 states, and he's out there, screaming from the rafters, and he's not getting any push from anywhere. It's like they don't want third parties to be even heard from. It's kind of depressing.
It is depressing. I got more depressing. I'm going to play something, and then we're going to talk about national defense for just a moment. But I'm only going to play 1 minute and 34 seconds of something. And we wouldn't be doing our job for what we've signed up to do if we didn't put this out. So I'm going to pull it on stage, and I'm going to press play for 1 minute and 34 seconds.
I heard somebody outside.
Yeah, we checked your house. We checked your backyard. I walked all the way through all these backyards. We checked your front yard. We didn't see nobody. Yeah, nobody's out here.
You didn't see anybody?
Nope. Checked the whole area. What took you so long to answer the door?
Oh, I was trying to put on some clothes, sir. I'm sorry. I was trying to get.
I got you. All right. Is there anything else we can do for you?
Yeah.
Is there anything else I can do for you?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. You doing all right mentally?
Yes.
Sure?
My medicine.
All right. Okay.
I love y'all. Thank y'all.
All right. That's not your black car, though. SUV? Whose is it? You don't know? If someone just parked it in your driveway?
Mm-hmm. They brought it to my driveway.
And just left it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Can you pause for 1 second?
Oh, yeah.
You just pause right there, maybe?
Yeah,
Ever let cops into your home. You shouldn't answer their questions. It's on the back of my business card. I don't have a business card in my pocket. Shame on me. But it says, I do not consent. I do not comply. I do not authorize search. Do not let police into your home.
Yeah. It's like vampires. You don't let them in. Don't invite them in.
Don't let them in.
But she called for help. Let's keep on going. Let's keep on going. 1 minute and 34 seconds. Don't worry. We're not actually going to show the graphic part.
Thank you.
We don't need a fire while we're here.
All right. Let me see.
Huh?
Where you going?
Away from your hot steaming water.
Away from my hot steaming water?
Yeah.
Oh, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
I
rebuke you in the name of
You better not. I swear to God, I'll shoot your.
I think we all know what happens next. In the next 1 second. And this is wrong. This is murder. And this is like the Air Force military person down here in Florida that just answered his door.
I don't know what
So
happened, but there were.
I just got taken off Facebook.
Oh, they probably thought you were going to show the whole thing. So they probably banned it and said, "Oh, she's showing it." So yeah.
I just lost access to Facebook. Not surprised. Not surprised. But I mean, we didn't show the graphic part.
It's not a matter of the graphic part. It's a matter of there were about 50 decisions he could have made besides shooting that lady. I mean, He could have said, "Ma'am, I'm going to get out of your house. Let me back away and leave you alone. I'll consider this resolved." He could have de-escalated, but the callousness with which he said it, I'm telling you, don't come over here. I'll shoot your ass. And he said it matter of fact, like turning on a light. Click, click. It's turning on a freaking light, man.
And what is absolutely chilling to the bone is the chuckling, the banter before leading up.
That is kind of sucks.
It does suck. Well, we've got national defense today. We're talking about
national defense. They lied about Nam. They lied about Iraq. They lied about the stand. But this time it's different. They're telling us the truth about Ukraine and Sudan. And where else are we messing around? Israel. And we got... I don't know if people actually understand the scope of the problem. Let me show you something that might put it in perspective. That is 750 or so bases in at least 80 countries. That's not talking black sites. That's not talking covert bases. That's not talking, other agencies that have facilities. That is 750 bases in over 80 countries. And people don't understand what a military base is. A military base isn't just force projection. A military base is economic power. We used to talk about harmonizing the dime, diplomatic, information, military, economic. I think they added some extra parts to it, but I'm old school, so I didn't do the dime fill. We just harmonized the dime. And a military base isn't just community, isn't just force projection. It is billions, up to billions of dollars for an area, and that's why these senators and congressmen don't want to close any bases. But let me read from you from the U.S. Constitution. We were supposed to, as a nation, provide and maintain a Navy because it was supposed to be a self-defense force. This is not a self-defense force.
That's an empire, my friend.
That is an empire. And it said we were allowed to raise and support armies, but no appropriation of money to that use shall be for a longer term than 2 years. I get it. The world has evolved, but we are no longer a self-defense force. People call it national defense. That is not national defense, man. That is last year, $842 billion. This year, I think they want, or next year, they want $849 billion. That's like almost $2.4 billion a day, every day. And that's not counting supplementals and extra appropriations. And the worst part of it is, just like with the federal budget, a huge percentage of that money is locked in and we can't spend it on other things. I used to build the president's budget for the Air Force, to go into the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, when I was at the Pentagon. Most of that money we couldn't vote on, we couldn't take away. It was stuck. It was programmed, and it was programmed multi-year. We are doing too much in the defense industry, and we can't afford it. And when you throw on top of that we got ran out of Afghanistan, we don't even get the fruits of our labor, man. If we're going to be an empire, let's just be an empire. Let's actually get the benefit. We're suffering mass inflation, And it cost me $50 for a burger and 2 beers at a sports bar last weekend. National Defense and Medicare are fighting for 2 and 3 of our spending. Social Security has been number 1 with a bullet for a while. Interest on the debt just hit number 2. We can't afford all the things we're doing, and it makes us less safe because immigration is a problem because of our terrible drug war destabilizing the South and Central America, our terrible foreign policy destabilizing the Middle East, our horrendous record over in Europe, because look what we're doing in Ukraine. And we don't even count Africa. I mentioned the Sudan, but nobody does. We are, for lack of a better word, fucking up. And we are not improving on our outcomes because we're not even winning. And I just kind of feel like I'm being gaslit. I do not make any memes, by the way. I steal them all. One of our representatives, Schweikert, out in Arizona, Republican, represents the Phoenix area, I believe. He said that we are an insurance company with an army. Between Social Security, Medicare, and the Army, those are our big, 3, other than interest on the debt that we're using to pay for all this stuff. We are messing up in droves, and Democrats and Republicans will continue business as usual, and that is not good for we the people. It really isn't. And I don't know why anybody would vote for anyone other than a libertarian or a Green Party or a socialist. I would vote literally anybody but a Democrat or a Republican because we have to break the back of the duopoly.
No red,
if we don't,
no blue, no matter who, no red, no blue, no matter
who. We need a gold rush. We are at hyperinflation. Nobody gets it. We borrow every dollar of discretionary spending that they get to vote on in the House and the Senate. We borrow that to run the country, and the cost of it goes between like 88,000 and 102,000 a second or something disgusting like that. It's truly abhorrent. People don't realize what we're doing. A friend of mine made this meme for me ages ago that I was the only nominee in Maryland who was anti-war. I am not anti-war. What I am is anti-aggression for no reason, especially when it's breaking us as a nation and making us less safe. Sorry, I get preachy. My bad.
Okay.
This just pisses me off.
Candidates. We have some other candidates on today. We have Marco. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna mess it up.
Battaglia.
No,
Battaglia.
the G is silent. The G is silent.
Battaglia.
Battaglia. Woo.
Battaglia.
But before we do that, we're gonna go to a commercial real quick because we're talking about national defense. We're talking about warheads. We're talking about bombs. You know what I'm gonna bring? I'm gonna bring the Imagine commercial, and then we'll go right into Marco. I'm Feena Bonoan, and I approve this message. Imagine if we had the same enthusiasm for building rockets to go to outer space as we do for rockets with warheads to go to foreign countries. From the moment we knew of our sun's expiration date, our star, we had a moral obligation to our future generations.
T-minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, booster ignition, and liftoff of SpaceX Dragon, hoisting harmony to the heavens and opening new gateways for international science.
To work together and find a way to escape this peril. It's bigger than one person. It's bigger than a generation. From the moment we knew of our sun's expiration date, our star. We had a moral obligation to our future generations to work together and find a way to escape this peril. This is bigger than one person. It's bigger than one generation. But if we all do what we can, when we can, together, we can save the future of humanity. All right, welcome, Marco.
Welcome. Can you hear us? Uh-oh, I don't think he can hear us.
Welcome, Marco.
Nope, he's frozen.
Uh-oh. Well,
I
Marco,
love the hippie in you. He'll come on in a second. I love the hippie in you, and I'm going to need you to make me one of those because you're 100% correct. It is incumbent upon us to be able to leave this earth and become an interplanetary species, or else we're in trouble.
yeah, I mean, it's not going to be in our lifetime. Let's not
No.
kid ourselves. Not going to be in our lifetimes.
I hope he drops and comes back in.
Yeah.
He was having some issues.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask him some questions because I found out that he spent over 10 years investigating financial crimes. To me, that's the number one reason to let him go be in Congress right there.
Yeah. Watchdog. We need more watchdog.
We need people who understand how the Democrats and Republicans are robbing us so that they can fix it. And someone who's investigated financial crimes might have some insights. Are you back? Can he hear us? Oh, yep, he can hear us. Welcome, Marco.
Yes. Yes. Hey, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to put you on the solo, and I'm going to let you give your 2-minute elevator speech and say what you want to say to your constituents, and what you're running for and the issues that are important to your people.
Sure. I'm running for Congress, U.S. House, Iowa District 3 representative. So that's like a lot of the major metro areas, but then also a number of very historically red areas, historically Republican voters as well. So I really got people all over the spectrum, some of the most libertarian voters and also a majority independent voters. And that was the first time I saw that video that you played earlier and how that relates to national defense. I think is that people in my district are more concerned about a officer of the state shooting them than a Russian or a Chinese individual or someone from Iran or, you know, wherever else they're going to fearmonger about people next. I've worked with the state legislature here to educate them about defend the guard legislation, if you're familiar with that. Basically just saying that we have this constitution, we should follow it. We shouldn't send our National Guard off anywhere outside the country unless there is a war, in terms of military matters, unless there's a war declared, the way that Congress has always supposed to follow the Constitution. So I've been working on that at the state level. And the big thing, like that map that you pointed out, we would be so much safer if we brought as many of our troops home and focused on cleaning up after ourselves, cleaning up our Superfund sites, and doing things like worry about the bigger threats to us, which are our impaired waterways, our soil, our amazing soil that we have in Iowa. That let's not lose any more of that. Let's regenerate it, and our air. The people that tend to get in power here really pander to the ethanol machine and the ethanol industry, and that's a net loss for the environment. You got nitrates going into the water, going all the way down to the dead zone in the ocean. and we're incentivizing it with all of our money that is taken from us. And we also have air pollution as a net loss that comes from ethanol plants. And I really have been turning the tide and trying to give people an option on the ballot that doesn't want to mandate or subsidize ethanol or monoculture. It's been really crappy for Iowa to be growing this field corn that people don't eat when we should be growing, nutritious foods and medicines. Iowa actually reignited the war on hemp. That's how bad we are now. And, even from a national defense standpoint, let's end the drug wars and we'll be safer here in Iowa, and people will be safer in Mexico and South America, overseas. And, there's just, we're doing almost everything wrong that we could be doing in terms of national defense.
Yeah.
I agree completely. And thank you for bringing up Defend the Guard. I had it on my notes, but forgot it. It's a very important piece of legislation, and the Democrats out here in Maryland don't support it either.
One of my
Uh-oh. He'll come back in a second. Guys, the fact that we can speak across the nation, she's in Florida, he's in Iowa, and I'm in Maryland, and we can bring it to you live across multiple platforms is a miracle. Don't you go messing with folks, because, I think he's in Des Moines, might have a messy internet connection.
And he's back.
He's back. Keep going, sir. You were saying some friends of yours, we were talking about Defend the Guard.
Yeah, we have one rep in the Iowa legislature that is big on Defend the Guard, but unfortunately, there needs to be a whole lot more. So I've been trying to talk to them each, person by person that are currently in the Iowa legislature, and we have a strong majority of GOP control here in Iowa at pretty much every level, and some states, the GOP have actually built Defend the Guard into their party platform, but not here, and we need to.
So I was looking at your website a little bit, and I found this picture. There are over 600 military sites that are Superfund sites. According to the U.S. Department of Defense, a Superfund site is an area that has been contaminated by hazardous materials. We need to systematically rein in our military from around the planet and focus on cleaning up after ourselves. It's safe to say that things have spiraled out of control over the last century or so. Major General Smedley Butler, as well as former Presidents Eisenhower and Kennedy, attempted to warn us about the expansion of our military industrial complex. That's a good one. That's directly from your website. And who is this? The guy that you're standing with?
That's Dennis Kucinich. He's an independent now, running for Congress, I believe the Senate.
Okay.
But he actually worked with Ron Paul and Alan Grayson and Bernie Sanders when it came to auditing the Federal Reserve on this movement towards ending the Fed.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Ron Paul, also found this quick little picture as well. And a quote: "The true prosperity can only come from a healthy economy and sound money that can only be achieved in a free market," by Ron Paul. So you've got to meet Ron Paul. So last week we had a candidate on that had a picture with Ron Paul. You've got a picture with Ron Paul. Where are you guys getting these pictures of Ron Paul? Like, is he out?
I actually had to speak before. I had to speak before him at this event in Omaha, the Unconvention, and I was like, "Are you sure you want me to go on?" But so that was a little
Warm up the
nerve-wracking.
crowd.
But that was actually, yeah, that was just a candid photograph. He was telling me, he said, I told him I was going to run as a libertarian, and he said, keep the Libertarian Party honest. And I've been trying to do that ever since. And, you know, I know there's varying opinions about individuals, including him, even in the Libertarian Party. But in terms of people that have actually been in Congress in our lifetimes, it's easy to say to me that he and Justin Amash are easily the most libertarian in terms of action while in Congress in our lifetimes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. So you've got, I want to put up your websites too, real quick. You're on X, right? You're on Facebook and Instagram. Looks like, there we go. So you're running for, so I think I misunderstood. I thought you were running for Iowa House, but you're running for the U.S. Congress. When I was reading through your website, you want to be supporters with Thomas Massey and Rand Paul and some of the more like freedom and patriotic oriented members of the Congress. And I think that's very admirable. And I get that question a lot of times, who do I most align with that's already in office? And, you know, you're answering that question right there. And I saw also in your profile on your website that you were he's gone. He's gone again. We'll come back.
I wanted to hear more about the new hemp wars. I actually, does that, yeah. Oh, well, he was talking about government.
There we go.
I stole this meme also. And that's how I feel about it all the time. It either, oh, there we go.
Hello. Welcome back. We were hoping you'd talk a little bit about the hemp wars in Iowa.
He might be frozen again.
I think he is.
Well, I pulled it up, and I guess they were big in World War II, one of the major hemp producers, and they started doing it again in the mid-teens, the 20-teens. So I don't know any of the history behind it. I didn't even know there were hemp wars in Iowa, so I'd love to hear about it. And how it's working out. Are they viable crops? Are they finding uses for them, nutrition, stuff like that? Uh-oh.
This is going to be a good bingo card. This episode is going to be a good bingo card for Monday night.
Yes, I love the interwebs.
Yeah. Here's another, this is my meme of the week. Libertarians, when they discover they have a body part called the prostate.
My man, Ron Swanson.
I love Ron Swanson. We could have had a Ron Swanson candidate for president. I'm still.
By the way, I have the perfect Democratic candidate for president.
Who?
He fakes right, goes left. He increased the budget by trillions. He freaking borrowed money, bombed Yemen, supported Israel, wants to grab the guns without due process. That man fakes right, goes all the way left. That man is not a Republican. He certainly ain't a libertarian. Don't vote for that man.
Marco's back. Are you back? You ready to talk about some hemp?
Or anything, really. It's not just the hemp. Iowa is a good old-fashioned Midwestern state. Just like I was stationed in Omaha. Most of the folks there are pull yourself up by your bootstraps and let's, go get things done. They don't rely on the state. So I think he's got a shot. Oh, there you're back. I saw you. No, he froze again.
No, he's
just jump in whenever you come back. We'll hush. All we do is banter. So has hemp impacted Iowa's budget a lot?
Let me just go on audio and see if that helps.
you're coming through clear.
So we were going to talk about the hemp wars in Iowa a little bit, the farmers out there that you mentioned.
No, it did not.
It
Okay.
did not help.
Did not help. Whoa. All right. So we can talk a little bit more. We got remember the 5th of November.
I watched V and it hit hard because it was about the time I decided to run for office. And it's a very, very fun show. If you haven't seen it, watch that show because it lays out the problem.
Marco's back.
The Libertarian Party of Iowa held a screening of that at a local theater at a mall close to me. And also last time I was running on a previous campaign, I held a screening of the Snowden movie when that came out.
I liked the Snowden movie. I thought that was very well done.
I didn't see it.
Oh, wow. It's good.
I love the Peter Gabriel song and how cool is that? At least he's not free yet, but Peter Gabriel wrote a song about him.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to look that up. So what's your campaign plan? What's your campaign?
It was in the movie on the soundtrack. It's called The Veil. Great song, great music video. You should play that sometime.
I will.
The Veil, Peter Gabriel. Cool.
So what's your campaign plan going forward for Iowa?
I think it's a
Did you hear me, Marco? I was asking about your campaign plan. So are you like trying to do door knocking?
So we actually filed. I've door knocked on over 10,000 doors so far outside of metro areas. And when I announced, it was front page news all over my district. I was on WHO radio, and I'll definitely be back on. I'm speaking at the Iowa State Fair. So yeah, we got a lot of big stuff coming up, and we actually haven't even filed yet. The filing date is coming up on the 29th, so we're ahead of the game.
Nice. Have you raised money?
We also have candidates. We have candidates running in 3 out of 4 of our congressional districts, Libertarian Party candidates. We got Charles Aldrich, who is a Marine and a brilliant engineer. And we have Nicholas Gluba, who is also a Marine. He was in the Marine Corps, and he's on the city council in Lone Tree, Iowa. So he's a city council member. He's a Marine. He's out there in his community doing amazing things. I actually ran for city council in Des Moines, which is a lot larger population. I came in 3rd out of 7, and that was on small donation.
Okay.
For votes than me, outspent me by like $100,000. It's about how we need to fix our roads.
So, are you raising funds for this election, or are you doing just what's your situation?
No, the funds have been great. Honestly, I take donations from individual Iowans, and I'm able to travel all throughout my district as much as I need to between now and the last vote on November 5th. I actually am most successful. I have these T-shirts that are a big hit, and if people donate $20 or more, they get a shirt. Because of the policy choices our representatives have continued to make, I do give out campaign yard signs and literature in return for a donation too, because I just want to be able to keep making more every time that I need it. We've been in a couple parades that were really successful. We'll be in the Iowa State Fair parade, and we're going to be in a parade where I grew up on the north side of Des Moines, Beaverdale Fall Festival. And I think that's going to be a good spectacle in a great way. Lots of happy people that want to show their support for me.
So how much money have you raised?
I'm still under the filing threshold, but I file anyway. So it's only in the thousands of dollars, but my budget is just to keep mailers out, keep signs out, keep T-shirts out, and pay for travel around the district. And it's ridiculous that the other candidates that'll be on the ballot with me have, hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars that mostly come from outside of the state of Iowa. And I have thousands of dollars that come from people that are going to have my name on the ballot. I don't take any money from anyone that's not an Iowan. I don't take any money from any special interest. And I'm not beholden to anything. I'm not beholden to BlackRock and their profits. I'm not beholden to the military industrial complex. I'm not beholden to
He's not. He hadn't sold
so
a soul. For this,
I can
is what
say
he's saying.
whatever I want, and no one can. No one's going to get upset about it, other than the people that don't want to hear what I'm saying.
So I saw also on your website that you were also, I think what you're trying to say is you used to be a prison guard. Is that
Still
correct?
am. I have been for this is going on the 6th year.
I was a prison guard as well, and I've got family in prison. And when you work for the prison industrial complex, you see a lot of injustices.
I think we all do at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I
So,
like the other job that they said you did, financial investigator for financial crimes for 10 years. That's really good for Congress.
Mm-hmm.
We need people to be able to investigate financial crimes. That'll probably help you out for Congress. So, what did that entail when you were
it's important to these people are our constituents that are incarcerated and they don't have a voice.
And that needs to be turned around too. Yeah. They're disenfranchised, yet they still have to pay taxes. Well, once they get out. Inshallah, they get out.
One thing I've learned is how many elderly people we incarcerate and pay really, a huge amount of tax dollars to incarcerate. And there's so many people that we could just let out and they would not be a threat to any of us.
Victimless crimes. I mean, if there's no victim, it shouldn't be a crime. And I heard a stat that 1 out of 6 or 1 out of 8, it's really hard to quantify, people are in jail for cannabis. And they have what looks like iPhone
Iowa,
stores.
you can still get Iowa, you can get a harsh punishment if you're drinking a beverage that has too high of hemp THC content.
Wow.
Yeah, Iowa's really bad. Probably the worst state in the United States of America right now when it comes to drug warriors. They through legislation, they basically have a captured market on what they call medical marijuana. There's basically 1 or 2 companies. Kemin Industries is the big one. And all these people in office that don't want to end the drug war are profiting off a de facto monopoly on cannabis. If I grew, you were talking earlier about how the government at one time encouraged Iowans to grow hemp. That's true. Anytime I'm campaigning out of metro areas, I see hemp. Like it's just still here from when we were encouraged to grow hemp. And the problem is, if I had it in my backyard and I was using it for cannabis oil for medicine, I'm now a criminal according to law enforcement. And they could come into my backyard, and if I apparently say something about Jesus, then I can get shot like instantly. I don't quite understand what happened in that video. I didn't see the brutal
video?
part, and I get why you didn't play it. But so like a second after that, the shots were fired. Like, did she do anything? Like, did they think she was?
It was a pot of hot water,
on them, or what?
supposedly. It was supposedly a pot of hot water, and he felt threatened that she was gonna throw hot water on him.
And she said, I beseech you in the name of Jesus or something. And that was the threat.
You. Yeah, the rebuke. And you know what definition of rebuke is? I rebuke you. I disfavor what you said. You know, I do not agree with what you said. Is rebuke, right? And he was saying beforehand of.
So that basically offended this person, and then he committed murder.
I cannot visit intentions. Maybe he was really, really scared of the little bitty old lady with the pot that was 6 feet away from him and couldn't find any other thing to do. Not lift a cushion to block the water, nothing.
Everyone that's a citizen needs to. Everyone that's a citizen, any of our fellow citizens needs to understand that this could happen to any of us. I had a really good friend who's actually an officer with me, and her boyfriend was streaming on like Twitch, like gaming streaming, and he apparently kicked someone's ass in a game, and they sent law enforcement to his door. It was a swatting attempt, which actually is a felony in Iowa. They were hoping he would get murdered on Twitch on a live stream, and luckily it didn't turn out like what happened to this poor lady. But it could have. It could have. They had guns drawn. Back when I was in college at the University of Northern Iowa, I was 20 years old, and I got what they called a zero tolerance OWI. And because I was a college student, I moved around a lot. So they actually, I missed my court date, and they sent law enforcement to my dorm room with their hands on their weapons. And I was actually staying with my girlfriend that night. So they started pounding on my dorm room door at University of Northern Iowa, which is probably one of the safest campuses in the planet, let alone Iowa. And my roommate was sleeping, and he thought it was a prank or, people messing around in the hallway, other college students. So he said, screw off, get out of here, like quit playing. So they busted in. And they were looking, it's a tiny dorm room. So they were looking all aggressively for me, like in little spaces in the closet, under the beds, really just harassing my roommate. And this was over a missed court date for what you call a zero tolerance OWI, meaning I was a college student drinking and I had any alcohol content whatsoever. And missing a court date for that was a reason to send thugs with guns to a peaceful college dorm. Like this can happen to any of us. You could be gaming. We could be offending someone right now because they don't like what we're talking about, and they send police to my door. And I have a son. I have two boys, but the youngest is non-speaking, and it would be a very difficult situation to try to explain that to someone that is really ready to use deadly force. So it's really scary, and we do need to do things like end no-knock raids and get rid of civil asset forfeiture, which I call civil asset theft, and get rid of qualified immunity for actors of the state.
We really need reform in policing, because policing arose out of them chasing around slaves, and the prison system. I think part of the reason it is the way it is because of the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery, except for people who were, found guilty in a felony, and then they can use you as labor and do whatever in the hell they want. So they grew up this big, nasty system. And I don't know this part for sure, but I really believe the reason why cannabis wasn't descheduled or decriminalized completely is because Joe Biden is beholden to the prison industry and the prison industrial complex. and that would negatively impact their
Kamala
incarceration.
Harris too.
Those bastards. They're all beholden to money, and I
Kamala
love
Harris
the fact
too.
that you're not. And
Yeah.
don't play the game. Get your word out. I love that
Well,
the radio and the guys are giving you love at the state fair.
If people like us got sent to the House and the Senate, we could work with everyone in Congress to scratch out that line that says "except as punishment for a crime," and I think that would help eliminate a lot of unfair, basically, essentially de facto slavery in prisons. And one thing that I got to say that's good about Iowa is we don't have private prisons, and so it's not profit. It's coming obviously through theft from taxpayers. But if at the state level, if you're going to have laws, I think you should also have officers that have to deal with the repercussions of those laws versus, in that case, shipping it out to a private company that is going to be less concerned with, basic human rights.
Well, that's one of the few things I think the government should actually do. And again, I'm not voting for them to pay for everything, but you should not privatize your corrections unless they're actually corrections and your goal is rehabilitation. And then you could have different measures other than keeping that cat off the street for 20 years or whatever it is. Them being reintroduced to society.
It would still be tough because then the end goal would be getting this person in control of whatever addictions they might have, and also being a good neighbor. But then they would be growing economically and they wouldn't need to be part of those systems, and it's a vicious cycle.
And people don't realize it's rotten down to the vine, and we have to prune the tree back down. That whole tree of liberty thing, we need to refresh it, because right now we are normalizing our own enslavement. And that's through inflation, taxation, and an oppressive state who now wants to disarm us. You seem way too logical and practical to be a politician, sir.
I feel the same way about both of y'all. But one thing I do want to bring up about being a correctional officer is I would have never put my name on the ballot if I didn't feel confident that the people that I work with, including the incarcerated citizens of Iowa, would vote for me. Like, they get excited that I'm running because I treat them with respect and they treat me with respect, and they know that I'm going to be a voice for them just as much as I'm going to be a voice for fellow officers of the state. And I think it's important that, police reform and criminal justice reform, they're going to make lives better for correctional officers and police officers. I don't personally know one law enforcement officer that signed up to be a pirate, to steal, to write tickets for frivolous things, to collect revenue. I don't know someone that signed up to go and steal a sick person's cannabis plant. I don't know someone that signed up to kick down some kid's door because he beat somebody at Halo. I don't know a law enforcement officer that signed up to just take somebody's cash that they were trying to go and buy a new car with, because it was the best way for them to buy a car.
They signed up.
That's not why people sign up to be police officers.
They wanted to be a hero. And just like in the later
same
Superman
with joining the military,
story,
people don't sign up to go and bully people overseas.
And they become villains. They become villains in their path to become a hero.
Way too often.
I want to say one more thing about that video. I know we kind of moved on from it, but something that you guys don't know is after it happened, after the cop shot her in the head, she was still breathing, and he told his partner not to go get the medical kit. He said, "Don't go get the medical kit. It's over." I
certainly hope there's criminal charges. That's a murder. That is a murder.
He's in jail right now. From what I've read, he's actually in jail right now, where he's a
murderer. And he can be. I hope he gets rehabilitated too, just like the murderers that I work with. But he needs to face the same punishment that anyone else that shoots someone and then denies them medical attention
We also need to
would
train
receive,
our
whether
officers
he's
better.
got a badge or not.
We need to train our officers better in de-escalation and also in a prioritizing of which weapon to grab, right? Pot of water does not equal bullet.
Yes. Why go to lethal force? Why
I'm
even have
from
your
the south
hand
side of
anywhere near
Chicago.
your gun in this instance?
I'm from the south side of Chicago. Those cats used to have black sites where they would take you for up to 3-4 days and work you over until you told the story they wanted you to tell. Chicago, I keep telling members of my family who are still there, why the hell are you still there? If they could pay you less legally, they would, and they have no respect for your life. That system is chewing people up and spitting them out, and it's a horror show. And it needs to change fundamentally from the top down. You can't. I don't even know where to begin with Chicago. It's one of the reasons I moved out of there. I couldn't handle it.
Well, folks, we are getting to the last of our moments.
So
I'm going to give you 1 minute.
I also played
Marco?
bass in a heavy metal band, and
Marco, I'm going to give you 1 minute. 1 minute. You got 1 minute.
I've toured all over the Midwest. Oh, sorry.
I'm going to put you on solo, and
Whoa.
I'm going to have you have 1 minute, and then we're going to cut to commercial, and we're coming back with the Chase Oliver update that we do at noon every day. So you got 1 minute. Take it away.
Sure. So I also play bass in a heavy metal band. I have my whole life, at least since being a teenager, actually since 5th grade. And I've traveled all over the Midwest and played in some of the what people would call the most dangerous places, in some of the places in inner cities in Chicago. I never felt more threatened by the people than by the people with badges. I'm reminded of this one memory from a spot in inner city in Chicago. There was a child that had a gun on his hip, and he didn't ever make me feel unsafe more so than times I've been pulled over for no reason. And looked at my ID, but have their hand on their weapon. So yeah, if we want to make our streets safer, the number one thing we can do is end the drug wars. And if we want to make our streets safer, the number two most important thing we could do is get rid of gun control, especially at the federal level. Like, just get rid of it. I like what Clint Eastwood said. That's the only kind of gun control I like is if there's a gun around, I want to be in control of it. And yeah, let's bring our troops home. Let's defend our guard. Let's be ready to kick some ass if we actually have people that threaten our borders or our way of life. If they're threatening our Bill of Rights, let's kick some ass. But right now, the only people that need kicked out of office are the people that are in Congress that are trampling on our Bill of Rights constantly.
Yes, I can't agree more. Thank you so much, Marco, for coming on. And be sure, folks, to check out Marco's website. Send him some donations if you can. And we're going to cut to commercial. When we come back, we've got Amber Howell from the Chase Oliver campaign.
I'm honored to be the first Libertarian candidate for president to ever campaign in all 50 states, and I did it before our nomination. This kind of energy sends a clear signal to the old two-party system that we are a 50-state party, and this is a 50-state campaign. Voters deserve a president who doesn't merely focus on a handful of swing states, and the Libertarians will be on the ballot for those voters who want to reject the two-party mediocrity and embrace building a foundation that will last for years to come.
Woo! Hello, Amber.
Hey guys, how are y'all?
Doing
Living the dream.
It's been a crazy couple weeks, hasn't it?
It's been hilarious.
Well, I'm sure we're going to get more crazy news tomorrow.
I nominated Chase for the Democratic National Convention to run as president. I didn't.
Well, let's So we were supposed to go to Michigan last week, but our plane got grounded and then eventually canceled. So we did not have any travel last week for Chase, but Mike did go to Pennsylvania to help with some ballot access stuff. And then we had that gave us an opportunity to fill up this week with a bunch of really good media. So last week we did the early show. Chase and Mike both have done interviews with Ask the Politician now. And then Mike had his first TikTok town hall, which those have gone over really, really well. And then this week we did, we fielded some live callers on WGH, and we did Brian's Beat yesterday. Those are two bigger radio stations. And then Chase did an interview with the Vanguard yesterday. And then right now he's on Fox 23 News. And then later today he's going to do an interview with Georgia Tech. And then I think I just scheduled one with the UGA paper. So we're starting to get ready for college season in the fall.
And I've noticed that he's been doing a lot more TikToks too.
Yes.
Yeah. So how's that?
They're going really well. At we did one on the fly on Sunday, just kind of planned it and a couple hours beforehand. And I think the highest viewership at one point was 4,000 viewers. So that was really, really good. And we got a couple hundred new followers after that. But he's going to go and do another TikTok town hall on Thursday, I believe.
So because we've talked about it a couple times in this episode already, has he made any statements about what happened just south of Chicago in regards to the woman with the pot of boiling water who got murdered by cops?
No, we haven't made a statement about that yet.
Okay. I'm anxiously awaiting that, because I think it's important that we show America right now that we do not tolerate this abuse of power.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, as a woman getting called, calling the cops because there's a prowler coming around. There was an SUV with a broken window in her front driveway. Everything was just weird. And as a woman, to be calling the cops looking for that hero that we discussed and them to turn into the villains, we've got to change that in America. We've got to change that. We've got to change that. That's just the way it is. But how is the campaign reacting to Biden's bailout?
His bailout?
Or his fallout?
His quitting.
He was bailed out. I mean, come on.
Well, we got a statement out really quickly. I can't brag. Well, I'm biased because I'm the media director, but our comms team's really great, and we got a response out within maybe 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So turnaround time was quick. We did the TikTok town hall based on that. Chase went live a little bit before the TikTok town hall, but we all know that Kamala, I'm going to call her Carmela because that's how I've been saying her name the last 4 years. But she's worse than Biden.
Well, she's the prison industrial complex. She is the arm of
everything we stand against.
She's actually kind of the exact same as Biden and Trump. Younger. And if she can really cook collards, I might have to holler. Sorry.
If you need collards, you just come up here.
Come up there. Oh, you're in Georgia. Yeah, I can come down to Georgia.
Yeah. So, well, next week we'll have stuff from the Chase Oliver campaign again. And I thank you for your time every week. You're doing, you're doing the work. You're representing the campaign well. And thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. So
Yeah.
two big things that we have coming up, two big events. We are doing the Fancy Farm Picnic. So Chase is going to get a couple minutes to speak and address the attendees there. That's going to be not this coming weekend, but the next weekend. And then we are returning to the Iowa State Fair the following weekend and speaking again. So it'll be really, really fun. I'm excited. I'll get to see all of my coworkers.
You're going to see the guy we just had on, Marco Battaglia.
Mhm.
He's going to be speaking at the Iowa State Fair also.
Awesome.
It's cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, Amber, I will see you next Tuesday. I'm going to cut to another Chase commercial. Is he making any more commercials? He's going to get some?
We have some in the works. I can put them on here probably before we post them. So once we get them.
Yeah. Just drop them in. So, and if they don't load up, send them to me directly, and I can filter them through my video processing to make sure that they do load up, because there's a maximum amount of megabits per second that it can be. So
Sounds good.
Mhm.
And the full John Stossel interview dropped this morning, so you can see it on, you can see the full interview on YouTube now.
Oh, we got somebody's going to be here. I will be at Chase's Fancy Farm appearance. I don't Cyrexis, maybe how to spell it.
Sixers?
Yeah.
Xerxes? I got nothing.
We're terrible at pronouncing her name.
I'm going to call him Cyrus. Call him Cyrus.
Well, we will see all of you at either Iowa or Kentucky.
Okay, we'll see you next Tuesday.
All right,
See
bye.
you next Tuesday.
Who is going to help put things in place that future party members can build upon to make this party better?
Chase has the passion and tenacity that it takes to reach voters of all ages and give us something to hope for.
Chase Oliver has proven that he's willing to put in the work needed.
I have watched him tirelessly work to spread the message of love and liberty.
He just works so damn hard.
I built my presidential campaign on activism and positive aspirational messaging. The results? Featured in numerous media outlets and podcasts. Prominent appearances like the Free and Equal Debate and the Iowa State Fair Soapbox. More than 500 volunteers and a full team of experienced professionals. More donors than any other Libertarian presidential candidate. And I'm not just preaching to the Libertarian choir. I'm expanding the congregation.
Oklahoma held a Libertarian primary.
Chase Oliver won more than 60% of the vote.
This election, 41 million Gen Zers will have the power to vote. They're fed up with the status quo and the negativity the two old parties give them. What they demand is a candidate who resonates with their vision, who grasps their ambitions, and who champions their freedoms. That candidate is me. Let's do this. Let's leave 1% of the dust and run a viable campaign at a time when America is searching for new voices. I'm honored to be the first Libertarian candidate for president to ever campaign in all 50 states. People ask me, where do you get the energy to run a 50-state campaign for president? Well, it certainly isn't just me. It's made up of our donors and supporters, the hundreds of volunteers who come out and help, and our amazing staff on the ground. The time is now for our party to invest in reaching out to Generation Z. If we neglect this amazing opportunity to reach out to millions of new voters, we will regret it.
And I'm supporting Chase Oliver.
I choose to support Chase Oliver.
I will be supporting Chase Oliver.
I'm proud to be supporting Chase Oliver for president.
I'm Chase Oliver, a candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Size Eris, by the way.
Yes, I saw that. That was Jeremy. So we have in the background, we got William Henry from Indiana. Come
William
on.
Henry.
Hey, hello.
You're on mute, sir.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me on, or afternoon now. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk.
Yeah, welcome. Always happy to welcome a federal veteran. Combat Camera Army, right?
I was a public affairs specialist. Yeah, I was a photojournalist, a writer for the U.S. Army. I served in Afghanistan in 2009 and 10. And then I went to Kuwait and other areas of the Middle East, 2012 to 13, came home and started serving veterans, started working for veterans organizations, I started off at communications director when I got back from my deployment in 2013. Got hired by the American Legion Department of Indiana and helped them with their communications plan, help them get back online, start communicating effectively with their membership, and start really telling people what they did as an organization, and help them be able to tell their story. So to be able to transfer that stuff from the Army side and the government side to be able to help the veterans and then move on forward in the administration too. I eventually worked my way up and was hired as an administrator, the assistant adjutant for the state of Indiana. And then I got hired on as the adjutant for the state of Indiana. So I was a lead administrator for a little over a year at the American Legion Department of Indiana, working directly with the state level veterans agencies and other veterans organizations too, to really group together and push through veterans legislation and veterans focused stuff there at the State House.
So I think that was supposed to be the elevator pitch. Let him do his elevator pitch. The whole, this is who I am. We're trying to develop clips so you can pull it down and play it directly as part of a commercial, damn the duopoly, kick butt type thing. So.
Yeah. And during my time as administrator with the American Legion, helping veterans and their families in the state, I was given some information to bring to light, to the public, and that affected me in my career at the American Legion and being a whistleblower for the state veterans organization that had been misspending and misappropriating funds from the state of Indiana, and also it was federal funds too that we found out. And I was forced to resign out of my position because I was a whistleblower in that capacity. And I didn't even work for the government. I worked for a veterans organization, but we had a contract with the state. So that was threatened, and me as an administrator, I was forced to be relieved from my position. And Indiana is a free hire and free fire state too.
So what are you running for, and what are your top issues, and what's your campaign plan?
I'm running for Indiana's 2nd Congressional District. In this district, we have about 750,000 Hoosiers in this area. My focus really is, veterans care, national defense, and basically lowering taxes and shrinking government. So with all of the inflation and all the tax things going on, that's hitting big, especially out in the fairs and the parades and stuff when we're talking to people right now. Finance is a big issue when we're getting out here talking to folks that really matters to them, because their pocketbooks are really getting hit, and wages are not increasing, but the cost of the regular everyday items are increasing exponentially. And I don't know if you saw it a couple weeks ago, but one YouTuber or TikToker had compared his grocery order for 2 years ago, and it had jumped up almost 4 times as much as it was. So that kind of stress on the families now, and plus, a lot of families, because of that stress, they're probably being forced into having to apply for the programs like SNAP and these other programs that help supplement their food, or maybe going to local pantries and things like that to help supplement their food. So I think that, food and money and finance things are at the very top of the list right now for the everyday citizens and what they care about. And but those things, and also, our national defense, our security here in the United States, and taking care of those who did raise their hand, and following through with that obligation that we have as a nation to take care of these individuals who did serve overseas.
Yeah.
I read you just had a baby a couple months ago, so you're up to 4.
Yeah. 4.
Congratulations.
That is 7 between me and my partner now. So we've got a very large family, and we've got a great new addition Lemmy Lorelei, she's been a great baby. She's 2 months old, and everything's just wonderful with that. And and growing a family, my youngest before her she just turned she's 20 years old. She'll be 21 in November. So it's a real gap for us, but it's working out really well, and I couldn't be happier with the baby and the family. And we just got a new place to stay, so we're kind of transitioning into our new home. We closed on a home, and we're just trying to build up our family here in the local area. And we're both very active with the Libertarian Party of Elkhart County. So we're both officers within the county. We help conduct the business meetings. We help attract people into the Libertarian Party of Indiana and the Libertarian Party National, ultimately, with the work that we're doing here. And we both work, we're both co-direct a not-for-profit organization that we started called Liberty Offense. And it takes an offensive approach to regaining ground where liberty has been lost, or pushing back against the government where they're supposed to be doing better. And we've had a number of successful public events where we've had press come out and cover the things that we're doing we found some election fraud and local county stuff that was going on. We had a very successful pushback on the election stuff. We had a truckers rally where we collected thousands of dollars worth of supplies for truckers to go to DC and push back against the mandates when all of that was going on. So over the last couple of years, we've had some really golden opportunities to push the libertarian message in a nonpartisan way, because we're working with Republicans, we're working with Democrats in these instances where personal rights and constitutional violations are happening. And they want to work with us too, because it's a nonpartisan approach. These things are nonpartisan issues. When it comes to the Constitution, when it comes to our personal rights, there's no partisanship that should be taken during those times. We should do the right thing and help the people out.
Cool. We were talking about cannabis before and hemp, and I read something on your page about the First Food Initiative.
Yeah, Food First Initiative is also a not-for-profit that we just filed this year. I had been working with the USDA for them to study the nutrition on the raw plant material of hemp. They know that I've talked to the USDA hemp folks too, and they led me in the direction of basically the food studies portion of the USDA. And they're aware that, cannabis federally has been legalized for the last almost 6 years now. So there's no restrictions on testing as far as cannabis goes. We want to know, it's called biomass, the greens and the seeds and all this stuff that's consumable. It's edible. It's called biomass. It has a nutritional content, but the USDA is dragging their feet, and the federal agencies are dragging their feet to do a raw nutritional study on what's actually in the plant material. So what minerals, what nutrients, what omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids are actually in the plant material, because the government has programmed everyone to think and associate smoking with cannabis immediately. And it doesn't matter who you are, even people in the cannabis industry, when I tried to explain this to them, that cannabis was actually in our food prior to the turn of the 20th century, they were adding hemp seed cake. They were using the hemp seed kernels, crushing them for flour material. So we were consuming omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids in our diets regularly from commercial sources during that time. And then after the 20th century, all of the industrial aspects of hemp and the food aspects of hemp and medicine aspects of hemp were attacked nationally to smash it down to keep it in place, because it was threatening petroleums. It was threatening some of these other industrial things going on as far as industry goes. So I think hemp really became a threat to those industries in the pharmaceutical, in the food, and in the plastics, because there's polylactic acids inside of the plant material that transfers into plastic.
hemp plastic, hemp concrete, hemp clothes. It's an edible seed, an edible flower. It's a medicine and an intoxicant. That thing does a whole bunch.
I'm
And
ready for hemp to be the next kale. Could you imagine hemp chips instead of kale chips?
And that's really
salad.
what that study would do. That's what we want the USDA to acknowledge the nutritional compounds in it. The only study that we have so far is the University of Oregon. I talked to Dr. Bonoan is his name, and he conducted a study on spent hemp biomass, which means it was CBD material that was squeezed out and extracted, and then the leftover material was studied in a nutritional aspect. And the nutrition in the spent material was off the charts with healthful materials that increased basically the biofunction of these animals consuming it in their diet. So this is something that is beyond what the government is trying to focus on, the whole smoking aspect, because that's how they got it. That's how they got it from us. That's how they made it illegal and justified all this stuff to attack it. But the real aspects of the history of hemp are from the edible consumable materials, and also, I don't know if you're aware of the patent on cannabinoids being given to Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and AIDS-related dementia folks, which is patent 6630507. It was owned by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and that patent successfully showed that cannabinoids delivered by the diet reduced the plaques and help the lucidity and the function and coordination of these individuals who consumed it for Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and AIDS-related dementias. The FDA refused to look at the material. The U.S. Patent Office looked at the study material, and they issued the patent based off of what the study had showed and the success. So that was conducted in 1999. The patent was issued in 2003, and then the patent is now expired, but there's no restriction for the patent. But it's also something that the U.S. government has not formally acknowledged, and they just want to kind of go away because, really, it's a deal breaker for a lot of these pharmaceutical companies who are spending millions, if not billions of dollars to bring their drugs to market through the FDA circus that they have to bring drugs to the market. So they don't want their investments crushed by something like this that could come, in reality, be something that's just a simple diet change or an addition to your diet from a plan.
Yeah. I brought up this thing before, talking about the socialism in our system and how Medicare is now vying for defense for our third largest expense. And people don't seem to get that. They were talking about growing food when we were talking to Marco earlier. BJ Penn said it, big farmer over big pharma. What we need is a diet change and a lifestyle change in order to get healthy again, so that we're not a burden on the system, because the system, unless there's a major restructure, can't afford all the crap we're doing to it. So this might be a revolutionary change, adding back in the plant that's as old as freaking time that the government took from us.
Yeah, it's absolutely, it's astounding to me, the more that I research on it, how badly it's affected so many different areas of our life and aspects. Like you were talking about the criminal justice reform, like just in the criminal justice aspect of it, all they have to do is say, we smell cannabis, and they can enter your property and violate your Fourth Amendment rights. So should this be something that is given, more access to us and violate, our search and seizure rights? Or should this be something that the government has nothing to do with and should not be regulating whatsoever? And that's their foot in our door for a lot of these crimes, because they say, well, I smell cannabis. They get in there and they find something else, or they don't even find cannabis at all. It's just a reason to get in and search your vehicle.
Right. I would totally tell them I farted. I would just look them deadpan in the face and I'd say, I just shit myself.
But unfortunately, they'll bring a dog, and if the dog, hits on the
dog will
target,
sniff the shit too. The dog will sniff
Yeah.
the shit too.
but that's their way in. They shouldn't have that easy of an access to us on our person, on our vehicle, or our home based off a scent of some sort of substance that they suspect. And no one gets pulled over and says, smells like crack cocaine in here. No, that doesn't happen. You know what I mean? They say cannabis. They always say it smells like cannabis. It smells like weed. It's, that kind of thing. You've been smoking any marijuana today? That's what the kind of questions they ask you. They don't say it smells like meth in here. You're like, no one's walking up to the car unless, no police officers are using the scent of any other drugs. It's always cannabis.
Yeah, you're right.
Where do you stand on national defense? Since we gotta put this in the national defense somehow. I know you're a veteran. I know all of us are veterans. I have my views on it. Feena has hers. What are your views on the state of defense in this nation?
Well, we are overstepping our bounds as militarily, especially as many places that we are around the world, and as many things as we have our hands into. We need to bring our troops home. We need to reduce our footprint. Sure, we can have, allies, and we can have, partners that we work with when we need to. A lot of the exercises and things that we conduct are to learn about those other militaries, to get one up on them, kind of, to be able to know how they operate and to make them or force them or to operate more like we do. So it's kind of an extension of our military when we start pulling in these allies and start partnering and doing these things with them too. Yes, we can be partners. Yes, we can understand how they operate militarily. But what's the real reason that we're spreading this far across the globe, that we're extending this much time, and then we're gonna initiate the draft again? So what does that tell people right now? And I think that signals that a lot of things are coming to a head here soon. And the United States, we've been meddling in a lot of things, and we've been funding a lot of things, and our money doesn't need to be going to Ukraine. Our money doesn't need to be going to Israel. Our money needs to be going to America. And our money needs to be focused here on our self-defense, not going out and being offensive to all these other countries and, having our agencies and our agents like the FBI, CIA, and Secret Service meddling around the world too, and all these other, and these are our tax dollars getting spent to do this. And then when they come out in audits and they'd have trillions less than what they had suspected, and they're not getting the budgets cut. So what's happening here? Those type of things need to be happening, and people need to be held accountable for their actions in those positions too.
And you know what? I want to say this too. Whenever you hear about military budget cuts, and when they do happen, because they do happen from time to time, it's not the bases overseas that are getting the cuts as much as the people that are actually working on the ships that are getting the cuts. So now they're working, there needs to be a smarter way of cutting these budgets, right? So a good, we still want to have a good defense. We still want to be able to protect ourselves. And how we do that is by building up our force.
Yeah.
And so those budget cuts, I don't see them coming from our force. I see them coming from like that map you showed, right?
Contractors, the contractors who are taking billions of dollars, they're the ones who need cut. Our military is an all volunteer military force, and they do that based off of some of the incentives that they're said to be provided to do those. But we're not going to have an all volunteer military force if we keep expanding like we are. We're going to see that as a necessity.
It's actually worse than all that for two reasons. We have 1.3 million active duty troops, around 275,000 reservists, and about 470 or so thousand guardsmen who they use just like the reserves now since they changed the law where they can do it. That's damn near 2 million folks we send all over the world to do all sorts of dirty crap. And as you said, we can't pass an audit. And of course, the DOD was never meant to be audited at that level. That's a whole other thing. But when you look at the DOD industrial complex, the defense industrial complex, 60% of generals go on to industry to work in the DOD defense industry. If you look up hundreds of millions of dollars in graft, you'll have to figure out by whistleblower which company you're talking about. And these same generals are running said companies. That means there's rot in both sides of it, and it's circular and feeding on itself. And the rot goes deep, and we have to fix it. And nobody's talking about fixing it because everybody's beholden to getting paid by special interests to keep doing it, from APAC to bribes from industry lobbyists. It's just the problem, the scale of it is daunting. It's daunting.
Yes, it is. And I'll give you an example of some of the wasteful spending too. When I was deployed to Kuwait in 2012 to 2013, we had paid billions of dollars for contractor companies to go into Iraq while we had pulled all of our troops out, supposedly pulled all our troops out, to go in and do all the cleanup work. Well, they didn't complete those contracts. They still got the money, but they never completed what needed to be done. There was a lot of sensitive information. There was a lot of secret information that wasn't disposed of properly. And we had to send more than 150 of our troops from Kuwait back into Iraq during the time that I'm a public affairs specialist, and I'm telling the public, we're out of Iraq. We're not there anymore. But 150 people out of our own unit, our own sustainment brigade, were up there, and they were conducting the work that these contractors did not complete. And they were still under risk of fire. They still had indirect fire coming in, even though they were placed in civilian clothes. They were placed in civilian clothes and told to operate in that manner out of secrecy during the Obama administration to conduct this work that the contractors were paid billions to walk away with.
And 750 kids basically had to go do it and didn't get compensated other than a little hazardous duty pay.
Yeah, hazard duty pay, and and still under. I mean, they were in Kuwait. They were in way less risk in Kuwait of indirect fire or any kind of explosions or anything like that. But yet now they're in a considered in a combat zone again, operating in a manner in which they should have never had to, because the contracting companies should have held their end of the bargain, or the United States should have held that over them to get them to conduct it.
I gotta say, allowing service members to wear civilian clothes did not help them. In fact, it probably made them look even more suspicious, because you can spot the military in civilian clothes every time we go out. Let me tell you, it's a standard uniform: jeans, tennis shoes, t-shirt, and they're kind of fat compared to the rest of the people. Just saying. And tall and fat. And we just stick out. We stick out also because it's usually, you don't see this in many other cultures, where you see a black person hanging out with a woman, hanging out with a Latino, hanging out with an Asian. And
that's a good point. Yeah, we're very diverse. Yeah, the military, we're very diverse. And we have no problem working with other people regardless of our differences either. I mean, that's one good thing, that in the military especially, is the camaraderie and the ability to build those relationships with people too, and really work together to kick some ass if you got to.
So, William, you were in the Army, or which one? Army, right?
Army.
So
Yeah, I was in the Army Guard, and
we're all green.
Yeah.
Everybody's green in the Army. Everybody's navy blue in the Navy. What color are they on in the Air Force?
Blue. Air Force blue.
Air Force blue. We're all green and blue.
Yeah.
Purple. So what radicalized you? What brought you into the party? What made you decide you wanted to run?
Really, the two-party system was just not attractive. It wasn't serving, especially after my whistleblowing incident and some of these other things that I had going on, especially in the cannabis community. Really gave me another opportunity to look differently from the outside into those two parties that I had never had before. And I distanced myself away from that and really started to work with and look at the Libertarian Party and the platform. And a lot of my friends had the same viewpoints. A lot of my, family had the same viewpoints. And it was really, it worked for me. Libertarian Party is where I should have been the whole time. And I just didn't realize that the party, was here waiting for me, and some of the things that the principles espoused in the organization were exactly how I felt. So I think that the Libertarian Party and its principles, having those out front too, really attracted me through those, because there's a lot that, just about every bit of it I agree with. And you don't find that a lot of times. And you see the flip-flopping happening between the Democrats and the Republicans. They won't put in black and white what their principles are. We've seen the switch, the polarization of complete viewpoint switching from party to party over the last 20, 30 years. So they really have become the uniparty. And they're not serving anyone right now except for the system itself and the state. And they're not doing anything different to make anything better. They're going along to get along and digging us further in debt.
They're going to keep the status quo going until we are broke. We've already hit hyperinflation, like you said. It was $50 for a burger, fries, and 2 beers this weekend. I am still incensed by that. I'm pissed off.
I think the Libertarian Party is going to become the home of veterans, more veterans. We're already, I would dare say that we probably have more veterans running for office than either of the two parties.
I know more Libertarian veterans than I do probably other party veterans. There's a lot of people who lean Libertarian who are in the veteran community for sure.
I got a special message for folks that are veterans out there, and you're looking at this video maybe now, maybe on Monday night. And if you're a veteran, you lean Libertarian, we need you in the party. Whether you run for office or you come and you run for a position in our state parties or our national party, we definitely need you. You understand organization, you understand duty, you understand the job has to get done, and you understand the principles. And we put America first and Americans first. And we need that. We need that leadership in the Libertarian Party. So I implore you, if you're a veteran and you're watching this, please get involved with your local and state affiliates for the Libertarian Party. Reach out to national. Just join. It only costs $20 to join. It's cheap. And just get on a mailing list and get in where you fit in. You know the deal.
I'm going to amplify that and say we accept failed Democrats and failed Republicans too.
Absolutely.
If you're not great at organization, all you really have to do is register and vote Libertarian. And if you don't feel like registering because you want to vote in the silly primaries that obviously don't matter because they can replace nominees whenever they want, then just vote Libertarian. Because
see, that's awful. That's abuse, waste, fraud, and abuse right there is the primaries. If you are hosting primaries to say that this is part of democracy, and then you go to your national convention where you actually do nominate, you nominate by convention, not by primary, by convention, you are wasting taxpayers' dollars. And I am fine with being a Libertarian and not running primaries. I've ran a primary before. I've definitely have. But the only reason why I ran it is because we had a bad character trying to get on our brand. Another reason why we need more veterans in our party to drown out the bad characters that do come and they do want to sabotage. We are military. We understand that there are people out there that want to hurt and want to do bad just as much as there are people that want to help and want to do good. And we are the first line of defense. So join the Libertarian Party.
Yeah, vote Libertarian.
Yeah, in 2020, I ran for lieutenant governor with Donald Rainwater here in the state of Indiana, and we got nearly 12% of the vote that year. And we pushed back against the mandates and all of the shutdowns and the government telling everyone who was essential. And Donald Rainwater, he's running again this year for governor with Tanya Hudson as lieutenant governor. But he definitely pushed the message that everyone was essential, and that was, liberty is essential, and the government shouldn't be telling people who is essential and who's not. and you shouldn't have to have a permission slip to go anywhere, and that's some of the stuff that we were exposed to and forced to do a lot of these things that, we shouldn't have been forced to do.
So
that
can you
business-
say Rainwater is running for governor, and who's running for lieutenant governor?
Tanya Hudson is running for lieutenant governor. And this year in Indiana, we have all of our congressional districts have a candidate, all 9 of them. So we have 9 congressional candidates, just like me, 8 more just like me. And we have 1 U.S. Senate candidate as well, Andrew Horning. So we have a full slate, full congressional slate this election in November.
I want you to know, I'm writing these names down.
I think that's tremendous to have, all of our slots for congressional slots filled up with viable candidates.
It seems almost unheard of. This is the first state where I've heard all the districts have somebody and a Senate nominee. So that's spectacular. Thank you guys for doing that.
We're really excited.
Especially on presidential years, it's very important that we have as many ballots filled up as possible. I think I get the coming from grassroots up. We've been doing that for a long time. It's time to go the other way too. We've got to come the other way, because a lot of things that the libertarians want to push and want to get adopted and changed, it happens at the national level. The protecting your Second Amendment rights happens at the national level. Making immigration better and more open happens at the national level. Your city council member isn't going to do much about your tax bracket.
Well, in Indiana, we do have a lot of local libertarians who are elected. I think we have 14 or 15 locally elected libertarians in the state. We've had a judge for a number of years, be libertarian and be elected. So here in the state of Indiana, we've done that, and we are growing from that. But we also get to bring our messaging when we debate these folks, when we have these public forums, when we go to the parades and we go to the fairs and things like that. We're very effective in being able to speak with the community, and I think that because we're meeting them at their level too. Like, we're people just like you, we're accessible, and we want to change and we want difference. And I think people, when you start to talk to people out in the community, those messages, it's really attractive to people, and they start to look into libertarian. They start to look into, what it means and some of these things, and really questioning, is the 2-party system where I need to be? And we've changed a lot of minds, especially with the smallest political quiz. That's a great interaction with folks from the advocates of self-government. That's been around for a long time. 10 simple questions, and you can figure out where you fall at politically on that map.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go over your website where to find you. I've got William Henry for Congress. This is your website for folks. And here's some pictures from when you were serving in the Army, getting your medals. And then we have this, your journey through the American Legion. Another one, you at the Bullhorn.
Yeah, we're at the State House there at a cannabis rally. I was still working for the American Legion during that time, and we passed a resolution through the American Legion to support medical cannabis, especially for veterans and first responders in the state that year.
And then I found this one.
Yeah, I worked directly with the governor's office, Mike Pence, and the current governor, and really to push and coordinate with his veterans groups what we needed as far as from his agency. We were really just laying it, because these conversations hadn't happened in decades before I had got there and coordinated some of these conversations. So it had just been really tough to get in there and get our messages heard. And then we recreated the Big Four, which was the Big Four service organizations together. That's the American Legion, VFW, DAV, and AMVETS. and we bound together and we worked with legislators, and they authored legislation, and we pushed and testified at the State House to get like 40 or more than 40 bills in 3 years passed regarding veterans issues in the state.
Excellent.
Where do they stand on Defend the Guard, the top four?
I'm not sure. You know, it just depends on each group where you go locally too, because a lot of people in certain local areas were guardsmen, and then they were deployed overseas. Like because I worked for the Guard, and then I got tagged for a deployment, so I got attached with an active Army unit, and we went on deployment overseas with the 82nd Airborne and conducted our operations alongside them. But normally my duties would have been held to the state during emergencies, or just around my local community and those type of things. But if you go to certain communities in Indiana, there's a higher percentage of veterans in some of these communities where some of these Guard armories were, and they have a different feeling about guardsmen being deployed, because they were deployed. And they did spend 2, 3, 4, 5 deployments basically being leased out by the state government to the federal government, as a soldier, airman, Marines, and even in the reserves too. The same thing. These folks had served locally for a long time, and then suddenly they're whisked away on multiple deployments over and over and over again, pretty much just being used up. And a lot of people came back broken and chained.
And they're not getting the same benefits as a regular enlisted person. And that's just, if you're doing the job, you should get the benefits. You're doing the job, get the benefits.
They're also losing seniority. They're not supposed to be messed with back home, but if you keep leaving my organization for months at a time, I can't rely on you. So you're not going to get the promotions. You're not going to get the seniority. And yeah, it's impactful all the way around.
On my boat, we had one of my best friends, even out of the military. She was tagged to go individual augmentee over to Iraq, or it was either, I think it was actually Afghanistan, while our ship went on deployment. And it was, just a 6-month tour. And she was promised, they hold the carrot of, oh, you're going to get a good eval for this. You're going to get, top tier. She came back and she did not get an early promote. If you know anything about military, there's like early promote, promote, or must promote and promote. She got a, and they're ranked. She got ranked pretty low on the must promotes, when she should have been an EP, an early promote, and that messed up her career. That set her back, because if she had stayed on the deployment, then she could have gotten an early promote, because she was an outstanding sailor. Outstanding. Sarah, if you're watching this, hello. Love you, dear. Always. But yeah, you're right. When you leave your command and go do these like little taskings, you lose your spot. You're not compensated, and then you lose your spot. And that's
it's much harder to get promoted in the reserves, and reserve component is what they call it, the reserves and the National Guard. It's all clumped together as a reserve component. And yeah, they don't get the same benefits. They don't get the same things that, active duty folks get. And they have to pay a lot more to receive those benefits too, that they do get.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, well, William, it has been a really good interview. Thank you for coming on. I have another picture. One more picture. Oh, on the news, earned media credit. And this is from 2022. So this is, how many times have you run for office now?
I'm running for the same office I ran for in 2022. So this is the second time that I've ran consecutively for this office. Last time, my opponent, who was elected, Rudy Yackham, did not debate. He refused to debate. So I had a good relationship with the Indiana Debate Commission and the League of Women Voters, who helped me coordinate, be in forums and to coordinate an on-air TV debate with Paul Sturry, who was the Democratic candidate. It was just me and him So I got to espouse libertarian stances for nearly an hour on live television throughout the district 2 years ago. So we're hoping that for at least a repeat in that and be able to do another debate with Rudy as part of this one.
I think the whole snobbery that's happening with the debates between the Republicans and Democrats is really going to bite them in the ass soon. I hope it does, because I've been snubbed on a debate too. The only debate that we had in Hawaii when I ran for U.S. Senate there in 2022, I was the only one that showed up, and they gave us the questions ahead of time. Like a month ahead. So it wasn't like we were going to get like shotgunned with something that we didn't know. I will admit, though, a lot of the questions were not U.S. Senate questions that didn't really, it's out of our wheelhouse.
Weren't
It was
within your scope of work there, yeah. And it's amazing, because abortion was a big issue, and you know what? Federally, it's not an issue anymore. It's down to the state level. So that actually made it a little bit easier for us, doing those debates to kind of push that down. It's a state level issue now, and to be able to kind of move forward on other issues too. And even though it's an important issue and a lot of people are single issue voters, it's at the state level now. It's not at the federal level.
I used to tell folks reproductive rights are healthcare decisions, and as such, they should be between a woman, her doctor, and inshallah, the father of the baby. It should not be voted on. It should not be legislated. Stop giving the government power over you. But it should also not be mandatory for a doctor to perform the procedure if he decides he doesn't want to. Because that's, again, we're all about voluntary.
Yeah. So we do have some episodes coming up, and one episode that's coming up pretty quickly is an episode on abortion. And Mike, I might kick you out of that particular one, because I would love for it to be an all-woman episode.
That would be a shame for me not to have a voice on this issue. Oh no.
I know.
Oh darn. Wow. Oh my God.
I mean, unless you want to talk about vasectomies and whatnot.
No, I had one of those. It was fun. I don't want to do it again. We're good. I'm pretty good. I mean,
okay.
I also don't want to talk about menopause or menstruation or any of the men stuff you women have. I don't want any part of that men stuff. Menstruation, menopause, none of it. We're good.
Well, in that case, I'm going to play a commercial. William, actually, before I play a commercial, I'm going to give you spotlight and give you 2 minutes. Say your piece. Say what you want to say, because we do make these into little 2-minute clips. The more exciting it is, the better your clip is. Okay.
Okay.
Solo coming to you.
Hey, I'm William Henry. I'm an Army veteran. I'm an advocate. I'm an organizational leader and not-for-profit leader here in the state of Indiana. I'm running for the 2nd Congressional District in Indiana. I would love your vote. You can visit williamhenry.us to find more about me and my messages and platform. And we would love to have you visit one of our events coming up here in the near future. Looking forward to visiting with more Hoosiers and representing Hoosiers like they need to be in Congress.
Excellent. All right. So we've got probably about 3 more minutes. Let's see. Do we have more comments?
I actually have one thing I wanted to bring up. A friend of mine, he does cybersecurity. He's come up with the only Department of Labor approved cybersecurity course, and he gives this thing away free. It's like 109 hours, and he's doing it for practical reasons because he helps with job placement, but he takes the best of the group when he can. And but he says the only thing you need is your Security Plus certification, just so everybody speaks the same language. And then he offers this course and helps you with placement. And I mean, it's the only one Department of Labor approved, and this man knows what he's doing. So if you guys need info, Sapphire Innovative Solutions is the company, but look me up. I'll get you in contact.
Excellent. Yeah, I love you guys. Thank you for coming out. And Let's get
Vote
some more
Libertarian.
candidate. Let's get some more candidate exposure. I would love to see our party promoting candidates more. I would love to see our party promoting candidates more.
He said that the Libertarian nominee was a female, right? The Libertarian Senate nominee out there
No.
in
Governor.
Indiana. Oh,
Lieutenant Governor, yeah.
Lieutenant Governor. I was saying, we need the Libertarian Senate nominees' information too to bring it over so we can get in touch with them and the other representatives.
Yeah, I'll get you guys their contact info so you can pull them on too and ask them some questions.
And it might be more powerful to run as a block. We get 5 or 6 folks that are all gold and that all have a viable alternative. Then that becomes a small caucus and we can actually impact things in the Senate. Hashtag Gold Rush.
Absolutely.
Oh, I'm seeing a commercial right now. It's like all the U.S. Senate candidates. I'm Mike Scott, and I'm running for U.S. Senate for Maryland. I'm Feena Bonoan, and I'm running for U.S. Senate for Florida. I'm Andrew Horning, and I'm running for U.S. Senate for Indiana, and just Ted Brown for Texas. I want to say their names and get them going, and just say their names. Just say their names, But that's all the time we've got for today.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's that time. It is.
It's that time to go?
Yeah,
this one flew by.
Thank you, William.
Thanks for coming by, William. Thanks for coming by, Marco, William, everybody. And
yeah.
See you next
Tuesday.
Bye.